YouTube's so-called community guidelines. I showed you the paragraph about COVID-19. As you can see, it censors, quote, content that contradicts World Health Organization or local health authorities' guidance. So your local health politician, your local health bureaucrat, gets YouTube to suspend or delete your YouTube video if it contradicts the government. So China is doing that in Hong Kong now, not just on COVID, of course, but anything that criticizes the government. I'll read more. Chief Superintendent of Police Karen Tseng said incidents that occurred in 2019 when the city saw months-long protest and unrest showed that misinformation could cause profound and long-lasting devastation. Devastation, eh? That's how the entire Canadian establishment talks about the peaceful trucker protests and all its honking. Devastation. Just a reminder of some of those beautiful moments in Hong Kong's peaceful uprising. It wasn't even an uprising, it was a protest. They didn't rise up, they just raised their voices.
China is an evil party. Hong Kong no more to stand with China. We need independence.
Yep. And what's your message to? Have you seen Donald Trump? Do you think he should step in?
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
We want the British government to come back and rule us again. We don't want the Chinese government to rule us anymore.
You want the British to come back?
Yes, of course. The Chinese government is terrible.
What's your message to people who call the old British government a colonial power that used to abuse the entire world?
No, simply we just want the British government to come back and rule us again. Is that simple? Okay.
So you think the British did well?
The British government did very well.
Why have we got an American flag here today?
Because we appreciate the American spirit. We fight for freedom and democracy till death.
Okay. And so if you could send a message to Donald Trump, what would it be?
Mr. Trump, we are very humble and powerless people in Hong Kong. And we know that when the Americans fight for their independence, they need to pay a lot, like for blood and life. And we are prepared for that. And in any moment, if you can help us, like the American people and President Trump, please help us.
And I would like to have this chance to thank President Trump that speak things in Hong Kong for us. Especially a few days ago, he speak with a lot of powerful people in different countries about Hong Kong situation, and we appreciate that and thank you for him to help us speak out the situation in Hong Kong.
Peaceful, beautiful, grassroots, organic, funny, heartfelt, millions of them. No, there was no misinformation or disinformation, but that's what the government says. What exactly is disinformation? Well, these days it's anything that contradicts the politicians in power, right? I mean, that sounds crazy, right? That's what China's doing. Well, that's actually the exact same standard that Canada's government, the Trudeau's government, uses to condemn disinformation here. You'll remember Trudeau's Department of Defense paid the University of Calgary to demonize critics of the Liberal government as being in league with Vladimir Putin. Seriously. They said that anyone who doesn't support Trudeau or tries to remove support for Trudeau is by definition part of foreign disinformation. That's nuts. But if the Canadian government can say that, why can't the Chinese government say that? And of course, the most important thing to say is you're violating press freedom, is that you support press freedom. Orwell taught us that. Respect press freedom. The new head of the police's public relations wing said he disagreed that police actions taken against defunct news outlets Apple Daily and Stand News had led to a decline in Hong Kong's press freedom. They literally shut down the newspapers. They seized their bank accounts. But that's because those newspapers were getting in the way of freedom, you see. It made us more free to have those newspapers gone, you see. Quote, the police force is very respectful of both press freedom and the freedom of individuals. Anyone can express their views online, but there is one important point. They cannot break the law, Chan said. Right, same in Canada, right? The only problem is that the law in both countries now covers peaceful political dissent. In both Canada and Hong Kong it does now. This is a terrible, terrible story. One of the saddest things in the world is to see Hong Kong, a beacon of freedom for a century, be absolutely crushed by communist China, even though the fingers on the hand that's doing the crushing were the Hong Kong police. But they weren't acting as Hong Kong police. They weren't acting for Hong Kong at all. They were acting as an arm of the Communist Party in Beijing. It's so sad. What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.